Hey there, I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the website techinterview.guide, and I'm here to help people with career advancement and interview preparation. My live stream on Twitch covers topics such as company research, how to build resumes and cover letters, applying for the job, getting through interviews, and what to do during negotiations. I've coached thousands and thousands of people over the years to get jobs at the biggest tech companies in the industry, and I'm here to help you too. The following episode is taken from a longer live stream event and may contain interactions with other people in chat. Check out the end of the episode for more information. Let's get to it. They have like a big like exit event where you can do something with those shares that you bought, whether they go public or get acquired or something like that. It's not a typical fast turnaround on that sort of thing. And so you're more likely to be sitting on that stock for a really long time before you can do anything with it. And so at the end of the day, what they've paid you in salary pales pretty drastically to what you could be making at another job. So to go back and kind of answer the question a little bit, like when are 100 devs students or bootcamp students or any new student ready to interview for a job? I would say you can start the research around those companies at any time. In fact, the earlier you start that research, the better, especially if those companies have APIs, libraries, tools that you can build into your projects or build a project with. It stands out so much more to those companies to get a job with them because you're not just showing up saying, "Hi, I'm Ian and I've got these skills on my resume." You're showing up saying, "Hi, I'm Ian. I'm a user of your software and I like it so much that I want to be part of the team." It's a totally different introduction. So the sooner you can start that research and the sooner you can start building their tooling or their library or API or whatever into your project, or you build a website that looks like theirs, or you build a project that's in line with what their company does, you're going to stand out much more to that company than just showing up with a resume and applying for the job kind of blindly and not having a good way to tie in like this is the value that I bring to the company, but this is also why I'm really passionate about this job. That's what's going to make you really stand out. So you can start that company research at any time. When do you actually want to apply? I would say if you can have at least one project on your resume that's going to really entice them to call you, that would be a good time to apply. So even if the project's not 100% polished, I think that that's still okay. You're still showing what we call alignment. You're still showing alignment with the company by having something that um, that shows the value that you're bringing to the company. Like you're passionate about what they do, you're passionate about the kinds of people that they're serving as a company, or that you're a user of their software and you really want to help continue to maintain that and build that. Cool. Appreciate the question. Thanks for dropping that in chat. This is typically how I run my stream. So people drop by, they ask questions. You'll see the little clip markers over here, and that's just tracking the start and end times in a database for me, so that later on I've got a Python script that goes through and it actually clips those out into smaller YouTube videos that you can go check out. So I actually haven't done the clipped videos for quite a while, but the little clip videos then get extracted. The audio gets extracted and sent over to my podcast. So I've got like an audio podcast that you can listen to. And then I put the same things up on YouTube, and on YouTube, I put them into different playlists. So that would be a good one around like general preparation for the job interview and so on. Midnight Smith, good to see you in chat. We're doing more job post reviews. Yeah, the job post reviews are great. I love doing those. I love trashing those a little bit. So if you want me to critique a job post, I'm happy to do that. Feel free to just drop one in chat if you want. If you've got enough channel points to redeem for that, that would be great. But since we had a bunch of new people drop by, that's okay. If you have an idea of a job post where you want my opinion, like being in the tech industry for a long time or having been a hiring manager who used to write job posts, I know what goes into making a good resume. I know what goes into making a good job post. And diversity is something that's really important to me. And so I look at job posts nowadays with a very critical eye from a viewpoint of how well is this company kind of lining up with what they claim, like where they want diversity and equity and things like that. Like how well is their job post really lining up with that? So I got a new follower, Gadudis. I think that's how you pronounce your name.
Welcome.
Thanks, appreciate the follow. Like doing little blinky lights and some sort of background music, hopefully for you. My Spotify has stopped working. Been talking all this time with no background music. Not sure why that stopped. Let me get some background music going here. Get that turned down. There we go. Get a little bit of background tunes going for you here. And then is this working? Yeah, that sound effects are working. But for some reason, Spotify didn't start up. So, Fatboy1271, good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Hello, hello, hello. Midnight Smith dropped a job post in there. I've been looking at this one for 6 months. It hasn't been filled. Wondering why. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's dive in on that one. So let me pull that up in a browser first, and then I'll go find that browser, and then we'll go pull this one down. Valero, that's the gas station company, right? Just resize some things here. Ah, shoot, that's not what I wanted. A lot of days I'm really thankful for the whole Control-Shift-T, Command-Shift-T thing in Chrome, where if you accidentally close it, you can like reopen it again. Well, let me go over to that screen. Let me get that pulled up in a browser here. Description looks like the one. All right, let me resize this and reposition this a little bit here. It's always weird how OBS constantly resizes these things on me. There we go. I'll shrink that up over here. There we go. Cool. Let's dive in on this one. So Midnight Smith in chat posted a job post. I wanted a job post critique, and I love doing these on the stream. And the message that they wrote in chat said they've been looking at this job post for 6 months and it hasn't been filled, and I'm wondering why. A couple of things here. So the first one is it's posted on a subdomain of this Talio.net website. So a couple of things could be going on here as far as why the job hasn't been filled yet. Either the company's super picky, or they haven't like maintained this job post. So a lot of companies use like big platforms like LinkedIn and Indeed, Monster.com, Dice.com, that sort of thing. I haven't heard of this Talio.net website myself, but it could be that they have put this job post out on several like job boards trying to find talent, and it could just be that they haven't maintained it and they just never took it down. That could be one reason why. It's an Oracle-based company. Okay, I mean, if it's an Oracle-based company, then it's it's a pretty big name. I haven't actually heard of Talio though, but let's dive in a little bit. A lot of large places use Talio now. Interesting. That's cool. Let's dive in a little bit. So SAP. So a bit of background. We take our people anywhere they want to go around the globe. Our 10,000 employees work together as a team with the single goal of maintaining our status as a top petroleum refiner and ethanol producer. As an employee, not only will you have an opportunity to impact people's lives, you'll be a part of a culture that thrives on positively impacting the people in the communities where we live and work. Cool. So as an SAP developer, you'll be part of a project team. Yep. Delivers high quality, low maintenance software solutions that are fast and efficient to achieve defined business goals. Okay. You will have significant influence on application design and architecture while creating custom applications that support strategic initiatives and build value to. There's a lot of buzzwords in here. As an engineering manager, I wouldn't make it quite so buzzwordy. I know a lot of HR and legal and marketing teams are like, oh, we gotta put this thing in here about like strategic initiatives and whatever. It's like doesn't need to be in there for your typical developer. Working in close collaboration with end users and your teammates through our IS departments, you'll develop system functionality using S4HANA technologies and Fiori design principles. Never heard of Fiori design principle, so I'm going to go look that up. To enable and empower business objectives. There's a lot of buzzwords in here. I think you could drastically simplify this down to people who don't understand what most of this terminology means. So from an accessibility point of view, the complexity of having to read this is probably going to turn a bunch of people away, or they're just going to skip over it completely. Midnight Smith says in chat, buzzy buzzwords. Yeah, for sure. Got to hit down search queries. Exactly. That's exactly right. So as a developer on the application development system team, you're a member of a select team that has the ability to make an impact within many of the different departments. Key competency: problem solving, initiative, results orientation, and interpersonal skills. Okay. So when I break this down and go, well, what does this really mean? So problem solving means they've got some sort of novel thing that they want you to solve, and you're going to have some sort of process of breaking those things down and a means to try to solve that. Initiative means you can sort of see when things need to be done, similar to how, like, I tell my kids, like, hey, if you see something that needs to be done, if you see that the floor needs to be swept, sweep the floor. If you see that there are dishes in the sink, do some dishes. Initiative as a developer is really like, if you see some code that, like, it smells like, we literally call it code smell, or something that we might call technical debt. If you've got some time and the opportunity to go make that better for the team, that's how I would see initiative. Results orientation, again with the buzzwords, like, you care about results. Just tell me you care about the outcomes. Interpersonal skills. This is really important for teamwork. So I think that this is a good thing to put in a job post, but it's almost a redundant thing to put in a job post. Like, being part of a team, like, you should be a team player. Our goal of Valero is to continue to be the premier manufacturer distributor. Yeah, you've already told me all of this. Petrochemical feedstock while serving the needs of our employees. Yeah, they've already told me all of this already, like, a bunch of times. So responsibilities: demonstrate passion for continuous improvement and accountability. Okay. Transform business requirements for large-scale systems into technical solutions. Business requirements for large-scale systems. Okay. We're going to come back to this one. Partner with developers, business analysts, and end users to deliver efficient solutions. Demonstrate strong programming analytical skills with a creative, user-focused mindset. I love this. They really want you to have, like, that user mindset of, like, why am I building this for a user? When we build out our resumes for a job like this, the fact that they want a user-focused mindset means that anytime you're putting your projects on a resume, you should have a user empathy statement, like, user can blah, blah, blah more efficiently, et cetera, and not just, here's my project name, I built it in JavaScript, Node, Express, like, so what? You built a project using technology, but who is it for? What do they do? What do they do with it? And so having a user empathy statement is going to be really important to this company, where you call out, like, this is what the user can do. This is why I built it for this particular kind of person, and so on. So you're going to want to keep that sort of thing in mind if you're crafting a resume for this job. Plan and execute complex development efforts to deliver great quality on schedule. Be organized and communicate efficiently through written and verbal methods. I mean, I don't know that this could get any more generic, but okay. This is pretty vanilla as far as like wording goes. Like, this is literally the expectation at every job. There's nothing new or novel about any of this. I think the one thing that really stands out here is large scale systems. This is a very big company. And so the code that you write for this company is going to have a big impact on everybody that this touches. So there's going to be some things that you're going to want to sort of watch out for here, as far as, like, optimizations and so on, that may turn some people away that have never worked on large scale systems before, or even a large system, much less a scalable system. So we'll come back on that. Bachelor's degree or higher in computer science, MIS engineering, IT, or related field or equivalent required. Okay, so it is required that you have a degree. As I've said in many, many streams, most jobs in our industry don't actually require a degree. So don't let this hold you back. If you think that you otherwise meet the qualifications for this job, go apply for that job anyway, and you can explain to them why you don't need a degree for this kind of role. 5 years of object-oriented development using either SAP, ABAP, objects, Java, or C# required. 5 years working with relational databases, SQL scripting, and data modeling required. 5 years of S4 HANA tech, such as Core Data Service, OData Service using the NetWeaver Gateway. Okay. I mean, I like that they've named all of these things as required, and then they have a number of preferred requirements. This is something that we talked about in the last stream when we were looking at the job post from Night Transportation. We were talking about like which of these things are actually required and which of these things would be nice to have. In this case, they called these requirements, and then they put the word required on the end of all of these lines. It's like, okay, well, it's a little redundant because you've told me that that's a requirement. If it's a preferred requirement, is it required or is it preferred? So I would just call this like preferred additional skills or something like that, because it doesn't make sense to call this a preferred requirement if it's not required. It just means that they're going to give more opportunity for the people that meet these additional requirements. They're probably going to interview those people first. Midnight Smith asks in chat, can you expand a little on why to apply anyway when it says required and not preferred? Depending on the kind of work that we do as developers, you don't necessarily have to have a CS degree. Having any kind of degree, I think is going to be fine. But if you are trained and you can demonstrate that you can do the job, I wouldn't let the fact that you don't have like a CS degree hold you back from applying for a job ever. You will learn a lot of so to qualify this, like to compare a CS degree and a boot camp or a program like 100 devs or free code camp or 100 days of coding, all these kinds of structured programs. You're learning how to use tools to go build applications. A CS degree is teaching you how to go build those tools. So a CS degree is going to help you build like the next great programming language, because you're going to learn about compilers and you're going to learn about low-level machine code execution and threading and multi-threading and multiprocessing and things like that. And for large-scale systems, that could be important, but you can also learn those things on the side. You don't have to go get a whole 4-year degree to learn how to make an application scalable. You can go learn that stuff later on. So that's why I say, like, you can go apply for that job anyway. If it's on them where they, like, that is a hard requirement, then it's a hard requirement. But don't let it stop you from applying. King440 asks in chat, can you explain that to them in a cover letter? As far as the education side of it, if that's what you're asking, I think they're going to see from your resume whether or not you have a CS degree, or their applicant tracking system software is going to have like a spot for your education, and you're going to have some sort of answer in there from the application as to whether or not you have that degree, and they might disqualify you outright just based on that, and that's kind of on them. But I would say if you think you otherwise qualify for this job, especially if you had any of these other like preferred skills, I wouldn't call them preferred requirements. I would just call them preferred skills. I would really call these out and say, hey, you know what? I don't have a degree, but I've got this other experience. Now, they are asking for very specific experience here. They're asking for very specific, SAP, whatever this S4 HANA technology is, Core Data Services, OData Services, NetWeaver Gateway. Like, they're looking for a very specific kind of developer here. SAP UI5, like they're not even explaining what this stuff is. So you'd have to like go look it up and go, what even is this stuff? If you've worked in this stuff, then, you're probably searching for, I'm going to go look for another S4 HANA kind of job. And you'll find job posts like this. But if you don't even know what these terms are, then you're, according to their minimum requirements, you're already not going to get the job because you're not going to have a lot of these things. But I think if you've got equivalent skills in some of these other things, if you can demonstrate like, hey, I don't know that specific technology, but I have something like sort of parallel to that. Like, for example, if they say like you must know Ruby, it's like, well, I know Python, so learning Ruby is not going to be a big deal. Or I know JavaScript, so learning Ruby is not going to be a big deal. I know C Sharp, so learning Ruby is not going to be a big deal. A lot of companies will take that into account. But because they're looking for very specific skills, it may be a little bit trickier to pull that off. But if you've got some of these other like preferred requirements that you can sort of transition over and say like, hey, I don't have these core skills, but I do have a lot of these other skills that I can still bring to the team, they may still consider you. You never know. Like big companies like Valero, they're gonna have like lots of positions open and lots of opportunity to hire people and sort of see what they're capable of. So as opposed to smaller companies, like we had a question earlier on the stream about like going and working at a startup. Startups have very few positions open, and they're also looking for very targeted sort of technology stacks and so on to kind of get the job done. These folks are also looking for a very specific stack. So going back to what Midnight Smith was asking at the very beginning, you know, I've been watching this job post for 6 months. Why hasn't it been filled yet? They're probably extremely picky about these requirements. That would be my presumption here. Well, let's take a look at some of this other stuff. So WebDyn Pro, FPM, ABAP, managed database. Okay. CSS, HTML, JavaScript. JavaScript has a capital S. Do your own due diligence. SAP functional modules, business object processing framework. Like they're looking for extremely specific technologies. So that's probably why the job is still open 6 months later, is because like when they write these job posts, they're looking for this mythical unicorn, you know, that may or may not exist. In this case, they're looking for very highly targeted skill sets. So you can literally come in, drop in on the team, and you know everything that the team knows as far as the technology. You know how to use all these technologies, and you can just go start building code right away. They just have to train you up on their particular like process or procedure, and you're ready to like start deploying code to production. Is basically what this job reads as. So is it good? Is it bad? I mean, we'll keep going. We'll keep kind of breaking this down a little bit. The above description reflects the primary job function may not include all detailed job functions performed in the role. That's pretty typical. And then they go into benefits. 7% match on a 401k. That's pretty great. With immediate vesting. That's cool. Annual bonus, company-sponsored pension. I mean, pension's great if you stick around for a really, really, really long time. On-site daycare. That's cool. On-site employee family wellness center. State-of-the-art 24-hour fitness center, free for employees and spouses. They basically don't want you to leave. When you think about this, they don't want you to leave their sort of campus. It also sounds like it's very much on premise, like no remote work kind of position. Position level and salary will be commensurate with qualifications, but if they're trying to recruit people in the state of Colorado, they've got to put that salary on here. Employees are the heart of its success. Yeah, it's just benefit stuff. So San Antonio. So, I mean, the fact that they're talking very much about like, here's all the stuff we have on site and it's in San Antonio, they're probably going to expect that you're going to relocate to San Antonio to take this job. That's probably why the job is still open 6 months later. Is it a good job post? Is it a bad job post? They don't talk a lot about like diversity, equity, sort of background. And I think a lot of what they're looking for here is a very, very specific background. That's not necessarily going to disqualify, you know, people from different sorts of backgrounds, ethnicities, and so on from a diversity point of view. But I mean, let's be honest, just getting a degree in computer science is kind of a highly privileged sort of position to be in life, to even go get a degree. So they're already kind of targeting a specific kind of demographic where they're probably going to have a lot more men on the team, a lot more white people on the team. But yeah, I mean, as a company, they're like, oh yeah, we care all about our employees, but they don't say anything about diversity other than, you know, will receive consideration for employment, but they don't actually talk about like this is, we care about diversity on the team or whatever. They're just like, everybody can apply, but they don't specifically call out like, we care about diversity on the team. Just something that's important to me. So in your company research, as you're researching companies, and if that's something that's important to you, this would be how I would kind of filter that out and go, okay, well, you know, a degree is required, highly specific skills are very required. It's probably not going to be a very diverse company. Overall, is it a good or bad? I mean, I would give this probably a solid like B minus because it's very buzzwordy. Like this intro, like I wasn't quite falling asleep reading through this, but it's a lot of buzzwords. Um, as far as the responsibilities, super generic. From a requirements point of view, again, very highly specific skill set. Even their preferred requirements, even calling it preferred requirements, is what do they call it? A paradox, where it can't be preferred and a requirement. Like it's either an optional skill or it's not. It can't be both. Um, but yeah, if you do bring experience from the oil and gas industry, then it's less that they have to train you as to like why certain things are important. But overall, I don't think it's a horrible job post. But it is very highly specific as far as what they're looking for. They're literally my take on this is their management team is very inflexible as far as like we literally want to hire somebody and drop them in the team. Well, if Midnight Smith mentioned this job post has been open for 6 months. What if they had hired somebody 6 months ago that didn't know half of these skills? They could have trained you on these skills in 6 months and you'd be up and running just fine. And they wouldn't have had this job post open for such a long time. So companies need to take that into consideration too. Like, when do you start sort of relaxing these sort of requirements and just train people on the skills that they don't know? If you find someone that's going to be good on the team, hire them and train them on the technical skills that they don't know. Those things are teachable. So I think companies could do better on that. So yeah, I'd say overall, good B minus on that. Generally, pretty good job post. Cool. Thanks, Midnight Smith. I always enjoy going through those. Um, Stackerbat says, I never thought about the phrase preferred requirements like that. Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange. Like, it's either, it's a nice to have or it's a must have. I mean, those are the only two ways that I see that. So when I was writing job posts back in the day, it was like, need to have all these things. And it was just this giant bullet point of blah, 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 all these things. And then eventually it's like, well, okay, well, which ones do I really need to have on the team? It's like, okay, well, we really would prefer to have you have that knowledge of whatever programming language that we're in, maybe a specific database we were using. But everything after that is like, yeah, it'd be cool if you knew this, it'd be cool if you knew that, it'd be cool if you could help out with this or that, but not necessarily make it a hard requirement. Otherwise, you're keeping people from even applying for the job because they look at that and go, geez, I don't qualify for like most of the stuff on this list. And you end up having people not apply. Hey, Juggling Biohazards, good to see you. Just kind of going back through chat here. So King440 says, if you write a cover letter for applying to this company, how would you write it? For that particular company, so they really cared about user empathy and they really cared about very specific skills. So any cover letter, so I've got a whole YouTube video that you can go watch on how to write a cover letter for the tech industry. But typically the first paragraph is introducing yourself and why you're applying for that particular role. Like, what is it about that role that really stands out to you? Why are you applying there? What value are you bringing? The second paragraph is kind of looking at the list of skills that they put in their job post and you highlighting how you've used those skills. Try to do it in the same order as their cover letter. And then the third paragraph is really just reinforcing why you're a good candidate for the role and when they can contact you. I usually tell people, like, wrap up that third paragraph, not from a Carly Jepsen, like, call me maybe, kind of like, I look forward to hearing from you. Tell them when you want them to call. Say, I'm available. I'm actively interviewing now. I'm available over the next 3 weeks in the afternoons. you can call me any afternoon for the next 3 weeks as I'm actively interviewing for a role. That kind of is going to trigger a little bit of that FOMO of like, oh, we're going to miss out on this opportunity. We're going to miss out on this candidate if we don't call them. And so it'll trigger that psychologically a little bit for them. And you'll probably get more responses to your cover letters. But the cover letter is really to give context and background to what you have on the resume. And so it shouldn't just be a bullet point list of what's on your resume. That's what the resume is for. Likewise, the resume doesn't have to go into a lot of explanation as to like how or why you did a project. You can explain that in the cover letter. So they can kind of balance each other out. I typically tell people the cover letter is kind of the creative writing version of your resume. You want to give more depth and more sort of perspective into the skills that you're listing on your resume and how you apply those skills and in different projects and how all of that is bringing benefit to that company. The cover letter just needs to really explain well, the immediate value that you bring to their team when you apply for that job. Thanks for checking that out. I hope that you found it helpful. I always appreciate feedback, so please let me know what you think. I appreciate any subscriptions, so please tell your friends and colleagues about it as well. Check out the website techinterview.guide for more information about when I'm live streaming and all of my free content. Drop by a live stream anytime to ask questions or message me privately, whatever makes you most comfortable. See you next time.